Loss on Thursday, the Mavs, they have now lost to each of the three worst teams in the NBA this season. The Magic, the Rockets, the Pistons are the only team to lose to those three this season. So bringing in NBA champion Kendrick Perkins, senior NBA writer Zach Lowe, and Brian Windhorst, it feels like the story of the Mavs season. It's kind of been pretty simple. Luka goes insane. He's able to drag Dallas to a win, or he's not. But if he doesn't get enough help from his supporting cast to emerge victorious, then we know what happens. So Brian, how can the Mavs fix this?
Yeah, so Malika, they've been a strange home road team. At home, they're 9-3. That's the kind of team that won 52 games last year. On the road, they're 1-8. And their margin for error gets really, really narrow, and they rely a lot on Luka. Primarily, their defense fails. I know we're going to watch their offense and say, boy, they don't have Jalen Brunson, and that hurts from a playmaker standpoint. And that's absolutely true. Not having a secondary playmaker lets teams like the Detroit Pistons double Luka, like we saw them do last night. But their defense, they're bottom 5 in road defense. They're top 10 in home defense. So this is a team that doesn't travel well and doesn't have as big of a margin for error and has to rely so much on their star without as much talent this year.
Zach, nice shirt, by the way.
Yeah, they missed Jalen Brunson. They didn't really replace Jalen Brunson. And the thing that would worry me about the Mavericks, to Brian's point, last year when they hit that conference finals run, they found lineups that had a nice balance between offense and defense. They didn't really have to sacrifice at either end of the floor to get that right balance. Now it feels like they're kind of off kilter. Oh gosh, we need to get more offense on the floor. Oh, that hurts our defense. Okay, let's try and tighten up our defense. Oh, we don't have enough ball handlers and shot makers. They're just a little bit off kilter. Everything will look better once their supporting cast starts making more shots, and that almost has to happen considering how cold they've been. But they just feel like they're one guy short again and kind of in a holding pattern until they find the right team around Luka Doncic again.
So I guess that begs the question then, Perk, what is the Mavs ceiling as currently constructed?
How much time do I have to dive in on the Mavs and Luka right now? I'm just asking, how much time do I have right now? Because I got a lot to say.
All the time in the world, Perk.
One, we keep saying, okay, cool. Well, we keep talking about, okay, he needs help. And the Mavs, now we realize that they took Jalen Brunson for granted. And all of a sudden, they didn't really need him. They got Luka. And then they took Porzingis for granted. We see what he's doing with the Washington Wizards right now. Okay, so here's the thing. What's next, right? What's next is that can we see the Mavs front office, or can we hold the Mavs front office accountable and say, hey, Luka does need a Robin. He does need a certified two. And here's another thing. I want an apology, okay? I don't care. I know Richard Jefferson is probably somewhere watching this right now, but he has been on my tail for the last couple of days about me not having Luka in my top 5 MVP conversation. And here it is. You go down to Detroit without Cade Cunningham, and you lose this game last night. See, here's the problem. I'm not hating on Luka. I think he's an unbelievable talent. He's an awesome talent. He's a showbox. He's everything and more. But when we talk about the MVP conversation, your record can't be 10-11. You can't be sitting at the number 11 spot in the Western Conference. And so now we're looking at it, and I just want to know. I want to ask the panel this. I want to take over for a minute, Malika.
All you.
What is the love affair that everyone has with Luka? Because we don't keep the same energy when it comes down to guys like Trae Young last year, who averaged 29 and 9. We wasn't pumping them up to win the MVP. What is the love affair that the world has with Luka Doncic that we just want to put him in the MVP conversation or want him to win the MVP? I'm just trying to figure it out.
Zach, I'll let you take this one.
Well, he's a little bit of a better player than Trae Young, if we're being honest. Bigger, more positionally flexible, probably a slightly better passer, and certainly a better playoff player. But, Perk, I actually would disagree. Last year, all we heard for the first few months of the season is Luka's out of shape. Luka needs to lose weight. Luka's off-court stuff needs to get better. Like, I feel like he was held accountable, and when you overcome that and make the conference finals in the Western Conference, you get a certain leeway. But I don't think that there's been sort of kid gloves around Luka at all. while people have hit him for complaining to the referees, I know I have. So I think there's been a fair level of scrutiny there. But to Perk's point, those two guys will always be linked because of that draft day trade.
So, Perk, just to be very clear here, when we're talking about the Mavs, we chatted a little bit about this on our pre-show call. Do you see them as a playoff team, a play-in team, the way that they're presently constructed?
I see him right now as a play-in team. I mean, just think right now, without him having a certified number 2, a guy that could go get it on his own like a Jalen Brunson, I don't see them cracking the top 6. Like, I see them having to be in the play-in tournament, having to fight their way to get into the playoffs as currently constructed. Unless the Dallas Mavericks make some moves, this team would not be in the playoffs. They will be in the play-in tournament. Period.
Okay, interesting. You mentioned it. The Mavs are now 11th in the West, just outside of that play-in range, but the West is super close. They're just a game and a half behind the Kings for the 6th seed, which would mean an automatic playoff spot. So to help us contextualize this more and for more on the Mavs, we bring in our senior NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski. That was a little bit of a hot take there from Perk, that the Mavs will miss the playoffs if they don't make a move to help Luka. But let's be realistic. What moves are out there for them to make?
And Malika, they're limited in the assets they have in Dallas to do something significant. It's very rare that a contending team like Dallas just allows a player like Jalen Brunson to walk out the door in free agency. There's a couple reasons. Jalen Brunson would have taken, during last season, he was eligible for a $56 million extension. Dallas didn't want to offer it until after the trade deadline in case they had to include Brunson in a big deal to go out and get, maybe a higher level number 2 player for him. But that deal really wasn't out there. And by the time they got back to Brunson, he was ready to head into free agency. They lost him for nothing. They misjudged the market on Jalen Brunson. And for an organization like Dallas that historically and certainly even more recently has not drafted very well. They have gone out in free agency and overpaid people like Wes Matthews or Chandler Parsons. They've missed big free agents. You've got to be able to keep a player like Jalen Brunson, even if you're going to use him as a trade asset. And, you look at like a team like Milwaukee several years ago, when they went and got Drew Holiday, they were looking for that 3rd star to try to win a title with, and they gassed a lot of their assets to do it. Dallas is in a position right now, they don't really have a second best player. And so the deals they can do, I think they're going to be marginal. They're going to be maybe some slight upgrades, but it's going to include more draft picks. They still owe the Knicks on Kristaps Porzingis, and they thought Porzingis was going to be that sidekick for Luka Doncic. It didn't work, and now they've got Bertans, Spencer Dinwiddie to show for that original deal. That's not enough. So you look at the team building in Dallas, and listen, a player like Luka Doncic, the clock is always running for an organization. And if all of a sudden you end up in the play-in this year, you lose in the first round next year, and you're getting deeper into his contract, and you don't have a supporting cast, you worry about being able to keep that player. And so all those things are in play for Dallas right now.
Well,
hey, what's up, guys? Jag from Jaggy Sports. We're going to talk about this guy right here. Luka off the Dallas Mavericks. I wasn't him, but it was the whole team, but they lost to the Pistons last night, and I believe the record is they're the only team to lose to the worst 3 teams in the NBA, right? To all of them. Now, a lot of people are talking about, and you just saw the clip, Dallas doesn't have a second star, and that's 100% right. They had Kristaps Porzingis. They traded him for Spencer Dinwiddie and Bertans, and then they had Jalen Brunson. They could have paid him an additional $56 million, but they banked on that. They didn't do it. They banked on the fact that, hey, we're going to trade this guy and see what happens. And then, when there was nothing out there for them, and they went back to Brunson said, hell no, I'm going to free agency, and we all know how that happened. Well, guess what? They should have known that Jalen Brunson's dad is part of the Knicks, right? So, bad management move on that part, but where do the Mavs go from here? I thought the Lakers needed help, but the Mavs really need help. Well, I'm not saying that Lakers don't, but I'm just saying the Mavs really need help because Luka is pretty much it's either him or Tatum that's going to get the MVP, right? So you kind of want to see this guy go far, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like you can't go far because you don't have a second star and you don't really have a supporting cast to help you get over that hump, right? Because this is the Wild Wild West. I know people are saying it's a weak conference this year, but they're 10-11 and they're not looking good. They need to make some trades. They need to make some big trades, but at the end of the day, who's going to take on a lot of these guys, right? Like, you got Spencer Dinwiddie, you got Bertans, you got a couple of the role players here and there, you got Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm not saying these guys are bad, but I'm just saying that Dallas needs a second star bad. And you got Christian Wood, but he doesn't really play defense. And like you just saw, they're a really good home defensive team, but on the road they suck. And it just kind of lets you think that they hate being away from Dallas for some reason. I don't know why. That whenever they're on the road, they're a shell of themselves. They cannot play defense. Which kind of surprises me because Jason Kidd is known for like implementing a good system, but you know, at the end of the day, this job by front office is not good because there's no 3-and-D guys on Dallas. I'm pretty sure they came into this season thinking that, hey, we got like some work to do, but you know, now they're basically 10-11. They got a lot of work to do. They got like, I don't know what they're gonna do. Trade deadline is not that far away. It's in February. The December 15th deadline opening where you can actually trade for players that sign in the summer. That's about 2 weeks away. And maybe they might get somebody there. I don't know. I know the Lakers are actually rumored to make a big splash, not like a huge splash, but a big trade involving Patrick Beverley and Kendrick Nunn. I don't know if Dallas is interested. I doubt Lakers do that deal, but who else are they going to get in return, right? David Bertans. I know he can shoot the three ball, but you know, at the end of the day, Dallas has got to do something. They really, really got to do something. It's kind of like, why are you wasting Luka's talent on another year when guaranteed he's in the top 2 seed for the MVP? It's going to be him or Tatum. You know, I think it's going to be a close race, but I'm leaning towards Tatum. Not 100% sure. But what does Dallas do? What kind of trades do they make? What do they need? Leave a comment in the comment section. Happy Friday to everyone out there. You know, enjoy the games tonight. This is Jag from Jaggy Sports.